Mike Peasy. He's
So
off the Heezy for Sheezy joining the show. Is my man. Every conference he's been in, he's had the greatest hair, but now he's one of the greatest special teams coordinators ever walked the face of this planet. Coach Michael Pollock is joining the morning run. Coach P,
what's
welcome to
up?
the morning run.
Appreciate y'all. Glad to be here, man.
Yes,
Coach
sir,
P.
Coach.
Oh no, go ahead, go ahead.
Coach, it's Monday.
Yes,
Game
sir.
was Saturday. Team meeting on yesterday in practice. What talk about the mechanics of we got to address what happened with BYU, but we also got to pivot and go toward TCU. What's been the vibe, whether it's coaches or players? What's your view?
Well, in this business, you got to have a short memory, and whether you win or lose, the next team's coming in 7 days, whether you like it or not, and you got to pivot fast, and you got to learn to put things behind you, and you got to learn from your mistakes. I mean, we've got another undefeated team coming in here. We've lost to three undefeated teams, and we got another one this Saturday. So we got to make sure to take care.
Yeah, shorter week with the travel as well, because we got to spend one of those days, a half a day on the road. How do you guys adjust and get ready for that? Not just the game plan itself, but it's condensed this week.
Well, fortunately, we've got experience going down to Fort Worth, and the plan we used last time worked pretty good, and I just feel like it's good. I mean, it's a Saturday game, so we'll be leaving on Friday, like we normally would for an away game, and so we just got to keep through with our process and keep focusing on what needs to be done every day. And by the time we get on that plane Friday, it's we're locked and loaded, ready to roll.
Hey, coach, are you able to use the team's records that you've lost against as like maybe like a motivational tool to say, hey, look, guys, you see how close we are? When you look at the way that you've played all three of these undefeated teams, 12-0 worth of wins that you've lost to, how can you use that mentally or as a motivational tool to get these guys to understand how close they really are?
Well, I think that's a great way to try to spin a positive on it if you can find one. I mean, you're losing to good teams, and you're right there. That's what's so frustrating is, you lose to BYU, who's by three. You lose to Georgia Tech by seven, who's obviously upset Clemson and obviously one of the top teams in the country. And of course, Houston. I think that they've surprised everyone, and done a great job and continue to do a great job. So yeah, I think you tell the kids, hey guys, yeah, I know we've come up short. I know it's frustrating. I know we're all upset, but we're right here in these games, and if we clean up just one or two things, it's just one or two plays. And the thing that's really frustrating is it's self-inflicted. It that we control. We control holding penalties. We control taking sacks. We control not staying in our gap to start run. We control not tackling on special teams when we got a guy on the 1 yard line, almost got a safety, and we let him out to the 5 yard line. I know a lot of people cheer about that, but as a coach, I'm looking at it like, man, we had a chance to put points on the board right there.
Yeah.
Goal line, and we should have made them pay for that. And I mean, what would have happened if we'd got a safety right there, and then now they got to kick off back to us from their 20, and we got a chance to get good field position, and we got momentum, we got the crowd in it. Things that we can control, things that we've talked about all the time. Coach Prime talked about all last week about tackling, bringing your feet, not grabbing, reaching. And for me, people talk about, yeah, we've played good on special teams, and we have played good, but there's still small things that we can control that can really, be the difference in tight games. When you play good competition, it's gonna come down to one or two plays. It's gonna come down to, how you execute in those crucial situations. And right now we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot, and it's not been from a talent perspective or something the other team has done to us. We've done it to ourselves.
Coach, one of the things I've really enjoyed is the change in the grading system, not just putting the numbers up on the screen, but putting plays up on the screen. that would have made differences, good, bad, indifferent, and ugly. And you kind of touched on it with one of yours, because special teams has been exceptional this year. Let me just say that, hats off to you and the work that you guys have done. But having said that, there's room for improvement when something's even exceptional. And there was a kickoff where we had a little more effort getting down the field, if not a safety there at the 1 yard line versus a 5. And I really love the way you spoke to the entire team, not just your specialists, that in this kind of game, that 4 yards is a mofo. Like, that's a huge difference bringing a guy down at the 1, or because we were all celebrating that he got tackled at the 5.
Right.
But he woulda, coulda, shoulda, had not been for our technique and effort, he would have been at the 1.
Right.
Double back for me, man, because you were there as well when the defense walks through the woulda, coulda, shoulda plays in the offense. You're really talking about 1 or 2 plays self-inflicted that literally changed the outcome of the game. Well, why is that attention to detail going to be even more important going forward these next 7?
Well, I think the Big 12 is a conference that has always had a lot of parity. And, we're going to be playing a lot of tight games for the rest of the season. And it's going to come down to those plays. It's going to come down to who's got the most attention to detail, who takes care of the little things, and it's going to come down to the point to where, it's like Coach Prime says, man, put people out there that do what you tell them. You know what I mean? And and we've got to do a better job of making sure that our guys are on the field, that are doing what we ask them to do, and not kind of quote unquote going in business for themselves, and just not remembering my technique, not remembering the details of my assignment. Because I think a lot of times kids, when they don't do their assignment, it's not on purpose. I think they're trying to do too much. They're trying to be a guy that makes the play. And you know what? You got to let the plays come to you. You can't force plays. You gotta let the plays come to you. And if you do what you're told to, and you do your technique long enough, and you do it right, eventually it will happen, and the play will come to you. So that's just what we've got to continue doing, and we got to continue pointing out these small details. And I'm like you, man. I love what Coach has changed the grading system, how we handle that. I mean, I think a picture's worth 1,000 words, and a video's worth more. And there you can't sit there and deny. You could say, well, Coach, I thought I had a 4, or man, it was 1 or 2. How many times did we sit there in those meetings and coaches say, yeah, man, you were 1 or 2 plays from a 4. You were 1 or 2 plays from a 5. Well, we've seen what 1 or 2 plays get you. You know what I mean? And
Coach, one more on this BYU before we get a couple of TCU things in. I strongly believe that we were going to win this ball game, and I was hanging my hat on the things we did to improve this team from that last loss. Our last game was against BYU down in San Antonio. We lost that game. We made some changes across the board, and I thought those changes would propel us forward, such as we only had 2 yards rushing in that game. Well, with the backs that we have now in the quarterback, I knew we were going to have more than 2 yards rushing, which was going to lead to more time of possession for us.
Right.
And then the improvements, hats off again to you on special teams. They ran a punt back on us at the Alamo Bowl, and they executed an onside kick on us. I knew that wasn't going to happen this game because we got the best hair coaching the special teams that can do it. But here's what I forgot, Coach. I forgot penalties.
Yeah.
And whereas our numbers this year are lower, our situational awareness of these penalties, to me, going forward, has got to change. What do we do to clean up just understanding down and distance, and this ain't the time for that?
Well, it goes back to you can depend on, and making sure that hey, listen, if a guy keeps doing the same thing over and over, then we got to take that into account and not put him in that situation. I mean, heck, I saw highlights of a game this weekend. Running back fumbled deep in his own territory, and the coach, I mean, he's starting running back. He didn't put him in for the rest of the game. You don't continue to let people, and I think our coaches do a great job of that. But like I say, it's a learning experience, it's a learning process, and like I say, you got to be aware as a player. You got to be aware as a coach. All right, this is a situation maybe this guy don't need to be in, or this is a situation, hey, I need to be extra careful right here. If we got a run play going to their sideline, we got to be better and make sure, because about the holding, we can't put ourselves, because their coach is going to be yelling holding, and that referee just been listening to them all night on the sideline, and they've been complaining to him, and of course they've been patting him on the back, making him feel, trying to butter him up, love him a bit. They're going to get that holding call, if we give them a chance. So, there's just situations that we got to be more aware of, and we just got to understand that we can't put it in the referee's hands.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you, a lot of people seem to think like the coaching staff feels they're bigger than God and they're perfect and it's all on the players. Talk about how hard coaches are on themselves, especially how hard you guys on yourselves when things don't go right.
Well, I tell you what, I guarantee that Saturday night at the game, all the coaches, got on their iPad, watched the game, self-evaluated what they're trying to do, and players play, coaches coach, and sometimes we get more on both sides. We get more credit than we deserve. We get more blame than we deserve. And if you worry about taking blame or anything, this probably isn't a sport for you.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with social media out there. And a lot of coaches and players have, things are going good and everybody's patting you on the back on Twitter and telling you how great you are and posting your picture on Instagram and doing all this. Well, when things go bad, they're going to do the same thing. It's just going to be a different narrative. And you got to understand that you got to have tunnel vision, and you got to quit worrying about, well, am I getting blamed? Or they get, because it doesn't matter who's getting blamed. What matters is there's a problem and it needs to be fixed.
Mm.
And as a coach, you never go out and try to point the finger at anybody but yourself. And I think, but I think too, the news media ask you questions, and obviously our program has more inside access than most programs, so people hear a lot more. But I can assure you, the same narrative, the same things that's going on at our place, at our practices, goes on at other places. I tell you what, I went to University of Georgia, and I got a little red and black in me. But let me tell you right now, if you want to hear something that go ride through Athens, Georgia, close to that practice facility. I guarantee you, they that microphone wide open, and you'll hear some things said that will burn your ears.
Yeah.
Hey, people that are not in football, that haven't coached it, haven't played it, they don't understand what goes on in a locker room, what goes on at practice, how way people they're you don't have time to always pat a guy on the back and say, hey buddy, I need you to do this. But they don't see that, hey, I can get on to him at the game, I can get home at practice, because behind closed doors, because in the cafeteria, when I've seen him in the hallway, I've put my arm around him, I've asked about his family, I've developed that relationship. So these people that don't know that and don't see that, they don't understand how we can communicate the way we can and be as blunt as we can, and they look at it different on the outside and on the inside.
Coach, one of the things you touched on that inside outside comparison there. This is one of the most open programs in the nation, and probably in history for that matter. I'm blessed and grateful for the opportunity to be one of those lenses to share with the world. But because we share so much, one of the byproducts of that, Coach, and this is just me speaking, y'all let me know how y'all feel. Because you show so much, people think when they don't see something, that means it's not taking place.
That's right.
And what they don't get to see is these grading film sessions with the players. And what they don't get to see is the coaches stand up there first and say what they messed up on. Yeah, and so the world thinks that somebody's just blaming players. Rob Livingston would get up every time and say, hey, here's the two things I failed at. I bet y'all don't do that again. Now I need you to not do this again. Let me show you what you did. Like it is full accountability. It's not just player. It's coaches. It's the head coach. It's the equipment staff. Coach Prime demands accountability from everybody. What did you do this game that you're going to improve on for next game and not do the same crap again? It goes for everybody.
But I tell you what, Rob does a great job of that. And I tell you what, our other coaches do as well. And I've even tried to make sure that, because I get on them pretty hard for special teams about mistakes they make and things at practice. And and I'm pretty blunt about it. I don't really try to sugarcoat it very much.
People don't know you, Coach Pollock. they would be amazed. They would be impressed, but they'd be amazed if they got to see when that face get red. And
well, at the same time, you can do that as long as you do take accountability for things you do. And I think I've tried to do a great job myself of sure when I make a mistake that I tell our guys, hey man, this was on me. I take this one. I'm gonna eat this one myself, but I need you to fix this in the future. Kids respect that. Anybody respects that. And I think it just makes you more human. And you can't always just. Nobody calls a perfect game. Nobody makes a perfect decision on everything. It's easy for people to sit there and say after the fact what should have happened. And that's the thing about coaching is if it works, then he was a genius. He was an aggressive play caller. Now you call a reverse or a play action pass on 4th and 1, and you throw a touchdown or something like that, and you're a genius, man. What aggressive play calling. Well, you do the same thing and throw an incompletion, and you're gonna have everybody in the world. Why didn't you just hand the ball off and run? I mean, that's the benefit of being a fan, and the benefit and the lack of benefit of being a coach and a player. We don't get to have do-overs. We don't get on, social media the next day and talk about, hey, this should have happened or that should have happened. Let me tell you something. If it don't work, I promise you, nobody's questioning themselves more than the coach.
Man.
Absolutely. And like I was saying, Coach, where you alluded to it, some of those things we can't show how it was supposed to go because it gives away the competitive advantage of what we're going to use to play in the future. So there's just, some folks don't give the benefit of the doubt that this style of coaching is taking place. Coach, we passed the top of the hour. We're going to let you run. Want to say again, thank you for taking the time out to come on the morning run. You're more than welcome anytime. Your coaching style is clearly working with your specialists. And let me give you this bit of encouragement. One thing your guys don't have, like the defense offense guys they don't have a next play. Like it's one and done. So the expectation of the standard has to be higher because you don't get a second down and third down. You got to do it right this one time.
That's it. Hey, Coach P, man, I just want to tell you appreciate it, man, because even with us asking questions today, you just been so open and letting us into your world because it really bothers me sometimes. I got buddies in the coaching profession where it's like where people really don't think that coaches really get on themselves. And I've seen you get on yourself. So right. I just wanted to I appreciate you for opening up, and thank you, Coach.
Appreciate you guys. See y'all later.
Sure. That's Coach Michael Pollock, Special Teams Coordinator for your CU Buffs. Appreciate him hopping on the morning run.
All right, we're going to be up and about here. Peace in the Middle East. Y'all.